soul cleaveth to the dust. Quicken thou me according to thy word. I have declared my ways. When thou heardest me, teach me thy statutes. Make me to understand the way of thy precepts. So shall I talk of thy wondrous works. My soul melteth for heaviness. Strengthen thou me according to thy word. Remove from me the way of lying, and grant me thy law graciously. I have chosen the way of...
Okay, sorry about that. I just realized I had the monitor on behind me again. That annoys me. All right, here we are. Welcome to Line by Line Bible Studies. We're going to continue today our study in the Psalms. All right, Psalm 114. And here we go. It's right before I got on, I was like, oh, I got to go fix my hair. And boy, I fixed it. I'm like, whatever. That's what you got to look at today. Hopefully you can just listen. When Israel went out of Egypt, the house of Jacob, from a people of a strange language, Judah was his sanctuary, and Israel his dominion. The sea saw it and fled. Jordan was driven back. The mountains skipped like rams, and the little hills like lambs. What aileth thee, O thou sea, that thou fleddest? Thou Jordan, that thou wast driven back? Ye mountains, that ye skipped like rams, and ye little hills like lambs? Tremble, thou earth, at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the God of Jacob, which turned the rock into a standing water, and the flint into a fountain of waters. Comma didn't belong there, but I mean the and. 115. Not unto us, O Lord, not unto us, but unto thy name give glory, for thy mercy and for thy truth's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where now is their God? But our God is in the heavens. He hath done whatsoever he hath pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. They that make them are like unto them. So is every one that trusteth in them. O Israel, trust thou in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. O house of Aaron, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. Ye that fear the Lord, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. The Lord hath been mindful of us. He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. He will bless them that fear the Lord, both small and great. The Lord shall increase you more and more, you and your children. Ye are blessed of the Lord, which made heaven and earth. The heaven, even the heavens, are the Lord's, but the earth hath he given to the children of men. The dead praise not the Lord, neither any that go down into silence. But we will bless the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. Praise the Lord. Well, I want to read one more anyways. Yeah, I'll read one more. Because we read that one yesterday, and it feels very, I want to read a little more. Something new. I love the Lord, because he hath heard my voice and my supplications, because he hath inclined his ear unto me. Therefore will I call upon him as long as I live. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the pains of hell got a hold upon me. I found trouble and sorrow. Then called I upon the name of the Lord. O Lord, I beseech thee, deliver my soul. Gracious is the Lord, and righteous. Yea, our God is merciful. The Lord preserveth the simple. I was brought low, and he helped me. Return unto thy rest, O my soul, for the Lord hath dealt bountifully with thee. For thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. I will walk before the Lord in the land of the living. I believed, therefore have I spoken. I was greatly afflicted. I said in my heart, all men are liars. What shall I render unto the Lord for all his benefits toward me? I will take up the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. I will pay my vows unto the Lord now in the presence of all his people. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. O Lord, truly I am thy servant. I am thy servant, and the son of thine handmaid. Thou hast loosed my bonds. I will offer to thee the sacrifice of thanksgiving, and will call upon the name of the Lord. I will pay my vows unto the Lord now in the presence of all his people. In the courts of the Lord's house, in the midst of thee, O Jerusalem, praise ye the Lord. That's followed by the shortest psalm, I believe, right? Which I guess we could read, but we're not going to get to it today anyways. Did I paste? No, I didn't paste 119 in yet, no. All right, back to 14. So this is a Exodus psalm, talking about the Exodus, and it's really just a sort of a celebratory kind of, I like the way it's constructed because it does feel like a song in the sense of like, well, it's got a different, some of them, I read them and they much like a lot of the Bible, it's not obvious how you make it into a song. A lot of the Psalms are not constructed, at least, hold on, shouldn't have touched it. But a lot of the Psalms are constructed in such a way that, there's no chorus, there's none of our modern sense of like how a song ought to be put together. In fact, we don't have any of their music, but I mean lyrically, they don't proceed as we would expect. If you would read the lyrics of a song, it would not be constructed like most of the Psalms, though a couple of them are close. In fact, we had a little refrain, and I thought in Psalm 116, or was it 15? No, it's 16, because 15 is one about the idols. But one that gets to the part about, where is this? Oh, no, maybe it was 15. Yeah, it was 15. He is their help and their shield. He is their help and their shield. There's like, I almost feel like it almost feels like a answer and response, like if you're in church, if you ever were in a church where they have responding, like in Catholic churches. They'll say, the Lord this and that, and they'll say, amen, the Lord this and that, praise be to God. They have this I never got caught on entirely. I remember as a kid, I was like, how do you know what to say? Especially when I couldn't understand what anyone was saying. I think I would have picked up on it if it wasn't like, up front, they'd be like, amen. I mean, that's how it was. I felt like I channeled Bill Cosby, his comedy right there for a second, because he used to do that with the mic. You get him on the mic and go, but that's how it felt like to me in church. I could not understand what they were saying. And to go, that's part of what, I mean, it almost seems like constructed diabolically to make kids alienated from the faith, because like literally I everything I really learned about faith came from my father. Absolutely, as far as a child, it all came from the words of my father, because my mother had nothing to say about it, and I try not to be overbearing on my children about it. I definitely am not, and I allow my wife probably is more like telling them things. Whereas they know what I do and they hear me talking and all that stuff. It's like, I don't, But the thing is, when you do that all the time, like I said, I'm always mindful of guys like, I think it was Matt Slick was his name. Something like that. Just incredible name for, it's like, you can't be, don't want to use car sailing with that name. That's not a name made for that. But anyways, and his daughter, he used to use her as like the show. Oh, he'd showboat with her. Look at how much she knows about the Bible or about Christianity, really. She can tell you what, transubstantiation, the hypostatic union, whatever. It's like all these fancy theological terms that most people don't know. And even after learning, you would tend to forget. I know because I've learned some of them at some point. I think I do know what the hypostatic union is. I don't know. I think it represents like what the what they describe as those. If they ever when they try to draw a representation of the Trinity, it's whatever connects the people that makes them the one being. I think. And if that's wrong, I don't care. I could care less if I don't know what that is, because that is, big. You gotta use words easy to be understood. And also, like I said, it's like knowledge is no substitute for know-how, I would guess. I would put it. You know what I mean? Like just knowing things as facts as opposed to knowing what to do with those facts. Like Jesus rose from the dead. Oh, what should I do with that fact? I guess I should just put it in my pocket, like pocket full of facts. Pocket full of truth. What does that mean? It means a lot more than that. He's supposed to be your Lord and Master. You call me Master, for so I am, he said. But he doesn't take that imperious attitude towards us, which is a beautiful thing, because he very well could. If anyone has a right to be imperious, it's God. You know why? When Israel went out of Egypt, the house of Jacob from a people of a strange language, Judah was his sanctuary, and Israel his dominion. They left it uncapitalized, because it's like they haven't invoked the Lord yet. When Israel went out of Egypt, the house of Jacob, I guess whatever, Judah was his sanctuary. Why is it Judah specifically coming out of Egypt, interestingly? I don't know. And Israel his dominion. I guess, no, what I would say, look at what this is doing, when Israel went out of Egypt, notice this is ignoring the wandering in the wilderness. It's just looking at the story as it was meant to be. God delivered his people so they could worship him in the wilderness, and he brought them to the promised land. He did. It just took 40 extra years, and it had to, because of their own cowardice. I mean, if I was going to go against giants, I'd be terrified too. I already am. I'm terrified of the giants that I confront, the government and all that. Because they're going to start, because like I said, they're arraying themselves against Christianity. Well, that's a war I'm interested in. You want to make war on Christianity, you're going to get a lot of the same right back at you. But again, we're the ones, we should have the advantage here, because we are the masters of the sword. They will use violence and foolishness, whereas we will use the word of God. Those are our weapons of war. They're not carnal, but they're mighty through God. And that's the weapons of faith, and to know where the real power is. It's in speaking the truth. It's in defying the evil wickedness and refusing to go along with it and participate. But anyways, I think what it's saying, like, since this is like taking that long view, because Judah is, I think, like the nation Judah, Judah and Israel, because this is probably looking, this may have been written post split. This could be a psalm written in the days of Hezekiah. I don't know. Because there's nothing. It's very inspired. It inspires me when I read it, but we don't know where it's from or who wrote it. It could be David, could be one of the other psalm writers. Official temple. This is a good one. Put it in the book. I'm sure that's just how it went. There's a number that are not attributed. They were probably just a musician from the temple. That not like only David gets to write. We already know that. We've already encountered Psalms of Asaph, Psalms of Hezekiah. I don't know if we did no, we haven't done the Psalms of the Degrees yet. That's coming up. That's Hezekiah's Psalms. But this could be in the time of Hezekiah or even prior to that. But that would still it could be like in any of there was a long period where Israel and Judah were separated, in which Judah being God's sanctuary, Israel his dominion. And sanctuary is the place of his temple. That refers, I believe, and I'm going to check that, because it was in Judah where God was reverenced more faithfully, even though Judah went after idols too. but they still kept the temple of the Lord, eventually polluting it in the most terrible ways themselves. But even before Antiochus, that's why it got destroyed. Ezekiel saw them, they were worshiping the sun. You know what I mean? They were worshiping other gods in the temple with their backs to the altar of the Lord. You can read about that in Ezekiel. We'll probably do Ezekiel sometime, but I think Ezekiel is the hardest prophet for me, especially the beginning. All the early stuff's easy, but the later stuff is difficult, and all the visions and stuff are very, like I'm always left at a loss. But actually, it'd be interesting to go back. It's been a while, and the Lord always gives us a new look when we go back. So when Israel went out of Egypt. So I think it's looking from, it's got that broad perspective of from then till now, the work that God has done. God brought the house of Jacob into his dominion, that land that he had promised. And to do that, they crossed through the Red Sea, and also they crossed the Jordan. There was a parting of the Red Sea, and then there's a lesser known incident when Joshua crossed the Jordan into the promised land. And at that point, the ark, when they stepped into the waters parted, and they walked over on dry land, just like in the Red Sea, revisiting that many of them may have remembered from their youth, because these would all be the people who had been 40 and under. So, that's not quite so young. But I'll tell you, I think back to the time when I was between 30 and 40, it feels like I was young back then. A lot. I'm still as capable of being a fool, apparently. Not. I'm just as capable of being a fool in an area where I am not trained to be wise. Certainly. And a wise man should understand that. That's why where you have not gained wisdom, you are still capable of being every bit of fool you ever were. You have to remember that until and that remembrance will help keep you from that folly. So these are the places of his sanctuary. The sea saw it and fled. Jordan was driven back, because the power of God drove the waters back, drove them back till they walked over on dry ground. The mountains skipped like rams, the little hills like when God came down in flame on that mount. I assume it's referring to the mount where he gave forth the law, and the earth trembled and shaked. And the people were so terrified they dare not approach. What's wrong, sea? I like the way it's sort of like, what's wrong, ocean? Is there a problem here? You scared? You mountains, what are you jumping up and down about? What are you skipping about like little lambs? They aren't actually rejoicing, but they're quaking. But he's looking at it like, why are you jumping around? Why are you skipping? You make it almost like they look kind of jolly and rejoicing. The mountains are skipping. Don't think of it as trembling. Think of it as joy. Right? It's just itchy. Think of it as joy. No, tremble thou, earth. He knows. The prophet, no, he's mocking, not mocking. It wouldn't be mocking. It would be sort of like teasing, which is a form of mockery, I guess. But he's sort of teasing with the earth. Oh, tremble at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the God of Jacob, and then he refers to the one thing in the wilderness here, a very critical thing. Turn the rock into a standing water, the flint into a fountain of waters. That rock which was Christ. The stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner, and also the source of all our life, and also the source from which, out of that river drinks up the tree of life and brings forth its fruit in the heavens and the earth to come. I like that psalm. That would make a fun short song to make out of it. It's just got such nice expression. What aileth thou? What's wrong? What's wrong, Jordan? I just yeah, that's fun. The Lord is to be feared, and greatly to be, greatly so. It's like I say, the fear of the Lord is understanding the power. He is the master of the universe, the maker thereof. It's funny how people would, they don't. The idea of we're living in a simulation is more plausible than God created everything, but it's actually kind of the same thing, isn't it? It could be just that. Our conscious minds are just creating this illusion of the reality, which we can see and investigate. Look, it's really here. Oh, wow, we can touch it. It's even better than virtual reality. Though maybe it is just virtual reality. I mean, we're all just in God's mind. And it is very real to be in the mind of God and to be remembered, you know, and not be forgotten, not to have your name blotted out of the book of the living, you know. So whoever's got me in his conscience, I want to make contact and assure that I will be there. Because I like this life, and I'm willing to agree to the terms that God has given. He wants a righteous world. We can't, you know, there's things we need to not do. You know, we're going to have a kingdom wherein dwells peace, so people can. How else are you going to be able to build houses and inhabit them if you don't have people coming around to steal everything? People who don't want to work. God wants people who like work. Not, you don't think you can earn your salvation, but, you know, we can't have people lazing about the place and becoming obnoxious and odious to others. You know, he wants a world in which there's going to be eternal peace. And you only get that with people who, when everyone agrees on what is right, what is wrong, and abides by that. Otherwise, you won't have eternal peace. You'll have disruption, just like it'll be like on earth. And God won't have that. He's letting us taste this so we can understand and also show, if I turn my back and you don't think I'm looking, but I always know, but you'll feel like I'm not looking, because that's how it is with God. What are you going to do? And he knows what we do. And he turns his back for a moment, and Adam and Eve, I go right to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Turns his back for a minute. Cain slays Abel, you know. And I'm not saying like that's literally true, because like I said, he always knows. He's not turning his back. He just allows them to feel like he's got his back turned. He allows people to feel like he's not watching. And it's not about, you know, and it is, so we learn to increase, as our faith increases, we learn to depend on it, and that trust to know that he is real. Not just that it's a story I believe in, but actually that it's a reality I should act upon. Okay, I'm just sort of like, yeah, well, because that's kind of, you know, when I read that, I believe all that, because I've encountered the Holy Spirit in a powerful enough a way that it convinces me of the truth of everything. You know, even like I said, and that's why I'm able to sit here fully believing, yet I'm able to ask very probing questions about the scriptures and things and question even the things written, and I am not afraid, because God has given me that boldness, because my faith does not stand in the wisdom of words, but in the power of the Spirit. You know what I mean? And they don't use wisdom of words. It'd be nice if they did, but they use folly of words. Like we got, this has to be literal here, and this has, you know, we just arbitrarily decide what's literal and what's on what basis. Torment forever, that's literal. Death, that's spiritual. That's just a figment of your imagination. There's no such thing as death. Okay. That's why when I did my paper on the resurrection, I call it "I believe in death and the resurrection of the dead." And that's the proper way to lay out the doctrine. You know, in my opinion, I know a lot of people disagree, and that's okay. I don't consider that to be the most critical part, but it gets the story screwed up, and you're not. I think it's what makes people not understand the millennium and the future. Why that's all convoluted, because they have a weird system where people are somehow entering the kingdom like way ahead of time, you know, as he's on his throne. And right now the kingdom is in us. God is not God of the dead. He's God of the living. And those that live in resurrection, he's God of them too. But sometimes Jesus just, you know, he speaks plainly. Lazarus is dead, you know, just so you know, he's dead. He didn't say, Lazarus is with the Lord, or something like that. Use euphemisms. They are with the Lord, because from their perspective, like I said, don't think they're going to be lonely waiting. It's like the next instant you know after you die, I believe, when you truly die. If you have a near-death experience, I believe that could be a vision from God. It could be an encounter with the devils as you get close to the death. I don't know. But the thing is, I will not give doctors, I will not yield to them the power to raise the dead. The doctors have never raised the dead. They've never claimed to raise the dead. These people are not dead. They're near death. I don't know why God would act would like, oh, I'll accidentally take them. You know what I mean? What they're having is a vision of some sort. It may be from God to show them, here's what, here's a vision of hell. Here's a vision of heaven. Here's a vision of this, of that. It can very well be those experiences. I don't want to, I know they're real. I don't, I know that they really have experiences, what I say. Just like when I got the Holy Spirit, I used to be like, yeah, I know you had an experience, but I've never had anything like that, so I can't comment. And that's kind of true. But when it comes to the doctrine of death, I'm pretty dogmatic about that. That you got to be really dead for it to count. And the doctors do not raise the dead. That's something only God can do. When you're really dead, they cannot bring a dead organism back to life. Like something that's been dead for hours. Like truly, like it died. Not it started dying a couple hours ago. Like, oh, they went in the water and, and like they bring them up. They're not breathing. Their heart stopped. But there's biologically, their body is still alive. And they can be revived because they're not actually dead. When you're biologically dead, there's no way back. They can't take dead. They always try to make things that are dead alive. They've been working on this biogenesis forever, and they're getting nowhere. As far as if you want to talk about using the chemistry that was available billions of years ago, as they, I think it's funny that here's the thing: a lot of people don't believe in any of that. Like how would they know the chemistry billions of years ago? Well, here's the funny thing: is they do constrain themselves on that regard. So they certainly think that was the chemistry. I mean, it seems to be a pretty honest, when they put that constraint on themselves, it seems it must be honest. Okay. I'm going way off. Not really off, but it's all a matter of faith, right? Not unto us, O Lord, not unto us, but unto thy name give glory. He has promised to glorify us. But as it is written in the book, in the book of Revelation, when, the saints are gathered before the Lord Jesus. The 420 elders, they all cast their crowns before the Lord. They take their crowns off their head and throw them at his feet. It's like, what? Because what crown? I don't earn a crown. We're getting glory. I want glory. I don't deserve it, though. I know that. And so a part of that glory is to say, Lord, I can't. Who could stand there and say anything else? Who could stand there and say anything else? Right? All the saints feel the same way. Though we know he is glorifying us, though it says, seek glory. Not for your own sake, but for the Lord's sake. Meaning seek glory in the sight of the things that he finds glorious. To fulfill his will. Bring praise to his name. Through your obedience. Through your faith. Why should the heathen say, where now is their God? Yeah, for that, it's not unto us, but it's to his name. Because less because we are great, they think, oh, they be great. But that they should know why they are great. And that, and that's one of the things that Israel should understand at all times. That humility, understand that God didn't choose you because you were special. He chose faithful Abraham, sure. But it's not like Jacob and Esau were just brothers, blood brothers. And you don't think any one of, the children of Israel later on born couldn't be just as off-putting to the Lord as Esau? The promise was to Isaac. Well, he had 2 sons, so then it only went to Jacob. And then at Jacob, it went to all 12. Or did it? It did. But in the book of Revelation, we have tribes peculiarly missing. Ephraim is not mentioned among the tribes. We have Joseph instead. And Dan also is not mentioned there. And some people have speculated that due to the fact of among those tribes was where they had put the golden calves in the days of Jeroboam. And if that's the case, then that would make sense. At least on that level, right? But but also it sort of indicates that the dark side of things, that it's not the man Dan, but that's sort of the Dan's name not being there is a demonstration of the fact that names can be taken out of the counting. I don't know, maybe Dan did fall into trouble. I don't know. Names can drop out of the family. Esau, he didn't inherit. Jacob inherited. And among the children of Israel, with many of them, God was not well pleased, and their carcasses fell in the wilderness, and they entered not into the promised land. And I don't want my carcass falling in the wilderness, but I'm not afraid to perish before the face of the enemy. I mean, that's different. The perishing in the wilderness is because they were afraid to go to battle. Just remember that. We have a battle in the end times. If we should go there, if we're going to be there, if the end times are incoming, then it is incumbent on us. He's going to make war with the saints. As far as I'm concerned, the saints are going to make war right back at him. I'm already on a war footing. I am. I'm trying to figure all that out. I mean, just like how to spiritually, it's spiritual warfare. I can tell you this. I haven't bought any ammunition. I haven't stocked up on any food. All right. But I am preparing. And I am not I don't mean preparing to stock up on ammunition. That always runs around my mind like, why? So I'll just leave it for somebody else. Somebody else to, or whatever. It's good if it isn't the end of the world, though, it might be good to have ammunition. Because if it's just mundane things, if it's just we have the calamity of America getting its just desserts, and it's not fair to the American people, but because when I say that, I say it with a lot of grief because I love my country, and it grieves me that the people in charge have taken us down such a dark turn that they're damaging the country and causing our power to be used in such a way over the past 70 years since the end of the Second World War, especially through the intelligence agencies. Because really, the creation of the CIA, the secret spy agency, operates outside the law, does criminal type activities, overthrowing governments, coups, things that our founders would be horrified that we were doing. And I'm horrified. When I think, I used to not think about it so much. It seemed like with the Soviet Union, it seemed like justifiable. Our paranoia and paranoidly depriving people outside of your country of their rights to decide their own rulers, to go, hey, they want to try communism and die, let them do it. Why? We were at our borders and we were fine. We need to return to our borders. And stop, before the world comes to our doorstep with a bill for all the mayhem we've caused in our flailing, incompetent empire. As it strangles on its own folly of the corruption of the leaders at the top. It's just too much power, too much money. It's almost like impossible. You're never going to get, I don't know how we're going to get 500 people, or however many you need in the representation of Congress and the Senate, and how you're going to get enough to, if you wait long enough, the tide turns, I think, and people will get fed up in this country and they will get candidates. I try to be optimistic on that front. The end times is more of a simple problem as far as like, well, here we go, But if it's not the end times, we still have problems. Like I said, and we need to consider those things in our times. It's not, you don't want to get entangled with the affairs of this life, but we need to meet the spiritual challenges. That means I don't want to get so, for me, I don't want to get so entangled, maintaining my house and my car and my lawn and not notice that there's genocide going on and we're paying for it. And stuff like that. Not noticing that and just thinking that to me is being entangled with the affairs of this life. Not considering the big picture. Death. There's people dying and we are sponsoring it. That's significant. That's important. That's not something you go I don't want to get entangled with that. You ever read The Good Samaritan? You're not supposed to just look the other way. It's obscene. People in our country have to wake up. They will, because it's going to get nasty here. The punishment is coming. The recompense. And like I said, even though people who are not responsible for the wickedness that's been done in our name are going to suffer for it. I may suffer for it. You may suffer for it. And it's their fault. Where is their God? The heathen don't believe our God is there anymore. That's what happened in our country. They're heathen now, especially our leaders. They're godless. Even if they go to church, they don't believe in anything. I mean, come on. They don't believe that stuff. They just go through the motions because it's still, it's not quite to the point where you can just say you're an atheist and expect to get elected in America. Now, you might get elected to a Congress seat or something. I don't think that someone who is truly godless is fit for any office. Now, a lot of atheists claim to be, they're atheists, I know, but I would say you're not truly godless, though, because if you yield to some sort of moral authority, you act as though you fear there was something going to judge you or something. Like, why are you being good? Well, because it's right. Why is it right? Oh, because of this and that. There's I don't think anyone's ever really laid out they've tried to lay out rational bases for morality, whatever. But the point is, they're bowing to something as like a standard. They say, okay, well, rationality. There's my God. And whatever, and rationality is not a good God, but because you can rationalize all kinds of things, there's no, because if you're going to be rational, there's all kinds of rational actions you can take that make perfect sense that are completely inhuman, abominable, perfectly rational though. Rationality is not a basis for morality. The only real, whatever. But the point is, like I said, though they don't believe in God, I get it. They still kind of act like a Christian. Like it's all leftover. They say, well, I can do this without believing it. And in the midst of a society that believes and still believes in those standards, oh yeah. But wait till you get into a position where you're in a society that doesn't believe in those things. You're going to still then maintain your Christian outlook, meaning as an atheist, but you're still going to behave in a morally upright way as just you're surrounded by all this just graft and corruption and you're just going to be that shining light in the midst of it. For what? Why not grab and take what you can before you're just left there starving like a fool? Well, taking care of other people. Take care of yourself. Looking after, it's much more rational when you get down to the state of nature with men grabbing and whatever they can get. And then let's see what your atheist morality does for you there. I'm guessing it doesn't work. It only works when you're in the midst of a bunch of God-fearing Christian people who at least act like they fear God, or at least the government or punishment of something. Because the government is sort of an extension of that. They bear not the sword in vain. They sort of represent, they're there to deliver justice, and that's something God believes in. And as much as they are doing that, they're doing his will. As much as they're not, they're not. And the individuals in it are held responsible for it. Just like teachers of the word. People are supposed to carry out justice. You gotta understand, whether you know it or not, there's a reason you take oaths of office, And that's where a lot of corruption is coming right now. Like you consider all the invasion coming across the border. It's agents of our government who claim they're just doing their job. That's what they said in 1945. They'd just been doing their job, folks, just whatever. After the war. Oh, we were just doing our job, and our job was genocide, Yeah. Well, I was just following orders. That's not going to be an acceptable. I needed a paycheck. You coward. Where is their God? I don't think we'll get into this, anywhere into this psalm. Our God is in the heavens. He hath done whatever he hath pleased. He is there. And no, I think everything I've been saying is right along with this psalm, isn't it? Right? Because we could talk about the verses here, and we will. We are. But it is for God, the sake of God's truth. When we believe in that, that's what enables you to stand up in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. Not like some clever, I don't believe in God. You're at the end of you're like living in a society that's been Christian for 1,000 years. It's like, what are you talking? It's like, yeah. You're just trying to deconstruct everything. You're stuck in your little modern mentality. You don't have any broad perspective on reality. Put yourself in the jungle again. Let's see where your morality ends up. Without God. You know, when all the bodies can be concealed and there's no one to come get you. You know, when you know you can get away with it. I mean, you think about all the horrors that go on. But think about, well, wherever the law falls apart, you think about Libya. What happens? Slavery's come back because they let the authority collapse. Gaddafi's a bad guy, bad dude. I think all our leaders are bad dudes. You know, it's like Trump said, we've got killers. Absolutely right. All of our leaders have blood on their hands. All of them. Even Trump, he killed people. He did less. I'll give him that. But they still, he allowed things to go on under his. I don't think he understands. I forgive that guy for a lot of things. I don't know if I can vote for him because of Israel, but we'll see. Because I like the wrecking ball idea. I still think that, well, let's see if we can, because we're not going to get that from another place and no one else is going to win. But Kennedy would be acceptable to me also. I can't vote for because of that, or I don't want to. I'd be infinitely happy if either of them became president over Biden, even though none of those guys I think is a particularly admirable. And I'll give Kenny more of it. I give it, maybe it's ignorance, but when I consider the company he keeps and stuff, I don't know. Our God is in the heavens. The earth, we like I said, it's important to me, like while I'm on the earth, like I says, when you see someone suffering, like the Good Samaritan saw that man suffering, probably an Israelite, because it would make the most sense. They would put themselves in that position, I think, of the man who was beaten. And the priest came by and wouldn't go by, and the Levite. And then finally the Samaritan comes. It is like, in some way, like I look at it the same way as like, well, I'm 50 years old. I've got a lot of children. What kind of world am I leaving them to if the Lord does not come? And so that's important to me. And then in the Christian way, because to me, it's like I look at it as the world coming against us, because they're the ones trying to undo right and wrong. They're the ones who are trying to, change that. Turn the military into some sort of, haven for sexual deviancy. What was that? It's like you're supposed. The point of the military is to kill people and break things. You know what I mean? I know it doesn't matter who does that, and it's like, but on some level, it's like it's a serious business. And I don't know. I never liked a lot of aspects of that, because it's young people behaving badly with guns. So I discourage my children from serving because I'm opposed to it entirely. Certainly, I think that there can be a need to defend your country. I mean, like, yes, but we're not doing that. So, we're not defending our country. We're causing trouble in other countries and leaving our country open to invasion, which is just insanity. And it is the leadership, just through their incompetence and sin, they're bringing what would I call it? There's all kinds of bad things are going to come. That is. That's prophetically speaking, like that's not a hard thing to figure out. It's not even like from the Lord, even though I know it's a prediction. I don't speak it out of that sense of like, oh, the Spirit of God's telling me. It's just like everything that I've ever learned tells me, and there is something in this of the Spirit in that, but also just history and economics. There are just a lot of reasons why things are going to be hard. God does whatever he pleases. Man, the heathen rage, they do their things go wrong, and people think they get away with it and all that, but ultimately God's will is being done. The overall picture, not in each minutia detail. No, God's will is not for people to be raped, but his will is to bring forth people capable of rape to redeem them. Some of them anyways, right? To redeem some that are capable of such things. Those are the things. It's like, we're all capable of various sins. I never had any rape in me. I always wanted it to be mutually pleasing. I always like to be well received. I'd like to have a smiling partner. I like happiness, not screaming and kicking. I don't understand. That would ruin everything. I don't get it. Or even if like a cold, like terrified look, someone frozen sitting there like crying maybe. What the hell is wrong with people? I don't get it. Okay, but I don't think I'm very righteous in that because literally I don't get it. So it's like I'm just a block of wood on that one. But they do it. And I literally get viscerally angry about it. But, again, that's because, I'm so righteous. I don't have that problem. I got other problems. And I need to look at those. Not that, some problems, again, some things, the state comes and they're going to put you away. Because you do stuff like that. Yeah, you're not safe to be among decent people. But even people that do such things can be forgiven. But they must repent of their sins. And we can't go around being so wicked. And so they talk about the idols. Silver and gold. I think about that every time. We got to invest in silver. We got to invest in gold. They're always like trying to get you to buy silver and gold. I'm telling you, in the worst of it, none of that matters. Yes, if you have a lot of cash, I suppose, and you need to think about where do I put my investments, and you're sitting on all this money. I hope you don't die like that because the Lord's going to be like, what, you had a chance to do something. Maybe not, we can't all work miracles. I don't know I don't have enough money to worry about that. I'm not going to have enough money to worry about it, thank God. Or maybe I will. I'm going to need more money, and maybe I'll get more than I need. Maybe it's like in the other psalm it says, I'm going to be blessed because the Lord says so. And it's not, and he's got to do it. It can't just be in the heavens, because sometimes there's needs. God can't say, Paul, be blessed. You have treasure in heaven, don't worry. But then I'm destitute and naked in the earth and I can't do my ministry. That can't happen either. So and since that can't happen, I shouldn't fear it, but trust that the Lord won't allow it. So the Lord won't allow it. But as long as that's necessary for his work, if it's not, he may allow a lot of things to happen to me. All kinds of bad stuff can happen to Paul. That doesn't matter. Just like Job. You can let, look at my servant Paul. Watch what you can do to him. Watch what you can watch. I think it's terrible and funny at the same time, but I love the book of Job. I do, because it teaches you the proper perspective on hope and faith in God, because life can throw you a lot of curveballs, and you should still keep faith with God, because he will restore unto you all to those who keep faith. You can't, like Jesus said of himself, I have lost nothing. All those you gave me, I have lost none. Everything God's given me, I will lose none. No one can take it from me. They can kill me. They can kill the things I love and try to take them away, but they can't take them away. Because God will raise them up again. And me and mine will be victorious, and they will be ashamed. That's why we go to battle confident of victory, because we know we will ultimately win. And all they are doing is, they're digging their own grave. Or, like it says, the man is he digged a pit and he fell into it, right? I think that's what we mean when we say you're digging your own grave. All the work you're doing is just burying yourself. I said, the people that would come against me, like I said, for the things I say on my Bible study or the things I say in my songs that offend them, if the government were to start, like someone here were to show up about something I said, and it's all, like, as far as, because I'm not, well, I suppose there are some things you could say where they would want to talk to you. If you said something like, I don't want to say anything like that. Because imminent threats of like specific violent action and all that, I don't believe in that, so that's not a problem. That's why I say anything I say, they would be foolish. But maybe they're just foolish enough, I don't know. Eventually they probably will. They'll come for everybody. Everybody is a true believer, unless you shut up. And that's the thing, that's important to speak up and to tell the truth, not just about the word, but how it applies to our lives today. And our God is in the heavens right now, and he's looking down and seeing the works of men. So the idols have mouths, but they speak not. He's just talking about the fact that these are dead things. And I think it's interesting. It goes through all things, hands and feet, you're right? They that make them are like unto them. So what? Well, they have mouths, but they don't speak. Mouths, wait a minute, they have mouths. They speak, but they don't speak anything that's the truth. They have eyes, but they see not. Well, Jesus said, blessed are your eyes, for they see. Because so many men don't see these things. Just like when you try to tell people about God and they say, I don't believe in God. Well, they don't see. Eyes they have, but they see not. And when people are like that, they don't have eyes to see. They don't have ears to hear. They don't have a mouth to speak. They don't have hands to handle. They have no sense at all of God, of what God is. And so they make for themselves something that's definitely not God. That's why I say, like in our society, as God has been removed, and not that I think the government has anything, I don't want the government teaching about God. I just mean that culturally we've drifted away from our and I saw it happen. I saw, the way the television in the beginning and then all the media and the internet, the corruption ramped up over time. I remember how like when I was young, like the pornography I had access to was exclusively softcore. I didn't know where you got hardcore pornography. It almost seemed like it was sold in like little shady shops in places that I wasn't aware of as a small kid. And I wouldn't have been able to get to anyways, what I discovered later. And it changed. It got the stuff that was available, like it just in the convenience stores, started to get more hardcore, and then the internet came along, and then that and now it's, I guess, everywhere. Now it's just huge, right? A huge industry. And that all comes down from, it used to be all pretty much illegal to make those. It was like contraband. Because it's no different than prostitution. It is prostitution. That's what I don't get. It's legalized prostitution. Maybe prostitution should be legal. I don't know. Because the thing is, I don't know if we control it like that. We control it by the strength of our people being committed to the Lord as individuals. That's why I'm saying overall in the country has drifted away from the Lord. Not the government, but the people. Though we are still a majority Christian country, serious Christian practice is way down. And culturally, when I look at the things being produced by the culture, they're decidedly different than they were, like, say, 75 years ago. It's changed. And it's become debauched. Now, if you go back even farther, like 100 years ago, you'll find debauchery, much like we have now in the 20s and stuff. They were quite debauched at that time. It's not like it's never happened before, this increase in debauchery. Now it's going farther than we've ever seen, approaching things like Sodom level of like sexual perversion being part of social control. You know what I mean? Like, we want to know you. And I take that in every way that means it. Because I do think it was like, well, it isn't just like we want to have, like, there were people come into the town and they had to all come out and see what was going on. And by implication, that implying sexual rape. Which is, I don't know if that's a word. I think I can say that. I mean, you can't say that word. That's funny, because people should be able to talk about that. I mean, as long as you're not saying something, I said there are some things you shouldn't say, and I don't say. I'm not, is that self-censorship? It's like, well, yeah. I mean, some things ought not to be said. Some men's mouths ought to be stopped. It doesn't mean I allow the government to decide that. No way. So, people and idols are alike handicapped in that they do not have the sense to know what God is on their own, like per se, like to precise what they do. What they do is they get it wrong. They have some sense, like the code. People, I remember they talk about the Code of Hammurabi, right? This Babylonian law that predates the law of Moses. Even if you considered Moses' date exactly when Moses, I guess some people maybe thought this is the first law ever or whatever. It's not that. Like I said, if you read the story of Abraham, it's obvious there's already a code of some sort of tradition of like making covenants, the way he made covenant with God. Like that had to make sense to Abraham. When God passed between the divided pieces of the sacrifice to make the covenant with Abraham, you read that, and as a modern person, it makes no sense. It's like, what? He didn't divide the birds. He put the birds on one bird on each side, and then cut the cow in half, put one on one side, and then God passed through the thing to make the covenant. And that makes no sense to us. I mean, we understand. I mean, because we can look into that and understand what it meant. But I'm just saying, just picking it up, reading it, you're just like, what? But Abraham, it had to make sense to him. It had to make sense to him because God was trying to communicate with him. It'd be like if it was us today, maybe he'd bring out a contract and sign it in front of us here. And then it would kind of dissipate or something. I don't know. What I mean? It's like, but it's in the heavens. It's like, whatever. He would do something that made sense so we'd understand. He's putting his name on it. He's putting his signature on it. I'm going to do this. And man always gets it wrong. Okay. We know enough in our conscience about right and wrong to be able to, like the Code of Hammurabi, to be able to say, okay, thou shalt not steal, and if you do, we cut your hand off. That's Hammurabi. Or no, I don't know if I think he did have the hand cutting thing. And they had, and I think in Hammurabi, there was also inequality in the law. Moses' law was superior to the Code of Hammurabi. And like I said, we're going to do the law sometime upcoming, because it's among all the things we've done, we haven't really touched much on the law other than we've done Genesis, but that's not really the law, though it's considered, the books of Moses are often referred to as the law. They have hands, but they handle not their idols. When men try to shape God, they end up making him in their own image, which is blind, deaf, speechless, and insensate and immobile. Insensate and immobile. There we go. That takes it all. Did I cover all of them? Maybe. Yeah, the feet is the immobile. Oh, the smell. I didn't mention that. Not odorless, but can't smell. What is the quality of being unable to smell? Like we're blind, deaf, speechless or dumb. I can't smell. That is inolfactorous. Something I bet there's a word, or we could coin one, right? I almost want one, so I could then say insensate for the hands and then immobile for the feet. And of course, voiceless. Like I said, deaf. And throatless, I guess we could say. There's smellless. No, smellless means you don't smell. It's like the old joke, right? My dog has no nose. How does he smell? Terrible, right? Because it's not the right word. There's not a special word there. They that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusteth in them. Yeah. They take on, and because there's another reason they're like to them, because they make their gods like unto themselves. They make their gods like unto corruptible man, like unto the things they admire, beasts and birds. To the powers of the heavens they worship. The lightning, the thunder, the storm, the spring, the summer, the fall. They divide it into all these things, and they come up with this pantheon of gods. Because no one can agree or figure out who God is. Because people don't know. God must reveal himself to you. That's why our God is in heaven. We don't have to make a representation of him on earth. There are representations now, but we know, and we don't believe in those representations as being of any power, usually. Some people do believe in their images having power. I do, because you know why? You look at it and it affects you. Images are powerful. I was taught the image of Christ on the Shroud of Turin, extremely powerful, especially the dorsal image. Always affected me, because I could see in the back where he took all the stripes. And just looking at him, to the degree to which he was beaten. So I didn't like about the Passion of the Christ, because they used the wrong thing, and the way they beat him there, it was so over the top. It made it look like it was an understatement, and in that way, I didn't like that, because I'm like, I love it, but it's also, it's like, well, it's a Hollywood thing, right? They're always overdoing everything. Because that's how it's done. But then the refrain, O Israel, O house of Aaron, you that fear the Lord, trust in the Lord, repeated 3 times. Right? And then he is their help and their shield. 3 times for emphasis. When something's repeated 3 times, you're supposed to really pay attention. Verily, verily, I say, and it was twice, but sometimes 3 is meant to be really important. Yes, trust in the Lord. Not, you fear God, trust him. You're associate, you're a Christian, trust him. He's the one to help. He's the one to shield. Do not seek to idols or to princes. Again, we do seek the Lord, but like I said, sometimes we need to speak to princes. Sometimes we need to tell the princes to get off. You know what I mean? It's not that we seek the Lord for our counsel and for our help in time of trouble. But like as Jesus said, well, and when I would say, I would relate it to what Jesus said. I would relate this, that, we are, in that he said, I'm coming to set a fire on the world. And what will I do if it already be kindled? He wants us to take up his work in the world with a view to heaven and with of course, and continue it. Preach the gospel. But part of preaching the gospel is preaching right and wrong. When you see something wrong happening, you got to say something. That's why I say, like, when I talk about politics, I'm interested in it because people are dying. And the people who are killing them are I have representatives that, I have strings that go back to me as a voter, as an empowered entity. I have a power to vote and to elect people who will represent me in a government that's doing things. And whether I vote or not, I don't think I can just because some people will say, just don't vote, deregister. Don't be part of the system. I don't understand that. To me, I'm like, and then what? And then what? Just let the world go to hell? That'll teach them. That'll teach them. I won't even vote. It's like I shoot yourself in the foot. That doesn't make any sense. Now, I know most of the time it doesn't matter what you vote, but some point it might. And so you want to keep going through that. I don't care if you're voting for Bozo the clown. Go in there and write it down, write it in, whatever you want, and keep your power to vote. Don't let yourself become deregistered. They hardly ever purge the rolls anyways. Except if you're in a rural area like mine with like good responsible people, yeah, they'll purge the rolls if you don't vote. It's always in the other areas, it's like, so, whatever. That's conservatives for you. They always follow the rules. They always get in line. And that's not me. I feel that tug, but I learned to be a little different. Because it's not always so. Not in this world. If God was in this world, I would say yes. Get in line. Do what you're told. But right now, like it says, the heaven is the Lord, but he's given the earth to the children of men. Men have dominion over the earth. God is ultimately in control, but we know, he says, Satan, we're wrestling against principalities and powers, rulers of darkness in this world. There is darkness in the world ruled over by entities other than God. Even though God is over all, even though nothing can separate you from God's love, who are called according to his purpose, right? Who are his chosen. Nothing. Neither height nor depth nor any other creature, nothing can come between you and God and the God who loves you. And that's why your salvation is assured. I know we're done, but we can keep going. I want to finish this psalm, actually. Yeah, we're almost there. He is our help and our shield. He has been mindful of us. He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. The priesthood, again, I didn't mention it, but I should, but the house of Aaron, the priesthood, right? He was Moses' brother. And he was the first high priest. He was also the spokesman for Moses, because Moses did not feel himself a man to speak. And he said, was not your brother a talker? Well, I'll send Aaron. He'll be your prophet, and I will make you a god. And under Pharaoh, he stood in the stead of God, is the one from whom this power issued forth. And So it is often that when the servants of God go out with power, people get worked up about it, like Paul and either Barnabas or I forgot who, or Apollos. I think it's Paul and Apollos. Yeah. No, maybe it wasn't Apollos because I think I got mixed up because I said Apollos because I know they thought one of them was Apollo. No, well, whatever. They decided that Paul's companion was Zeus, the king of the gods, and that I believe, or Apollo, who's the sun god, who's important. But whatever. But the other one was Hermes. That Paul was Hermes, Mercury, because he was the chief speaker. He was the messenger of the gods. See, and so the one who talks ends up being seen as the messenger, and the one who's standing there quietly, like he is someone special. It's funny like that. He's somebody else. Well, because always people who are leaders and stuff aren't always the best talkers. Yeah, I never thought of myself as being a good leader, or like I always wanted to be somebody's like consigliere or something like the guy who would be on the side who maybe talk for the person or whatever. That would be like the because I don't like decision making. I like deliberating. I like discussing. I can pick out details and problems. I can find issues. I'm good at troubleshooting and stuff like that. I'm good at seeing trouble and seeing the complicated problem, seeing problems in their full complexity, which is terrible for decision making. Because I'm like, whoa, there's way too much going on here for me. That's how I often think. Just like with, I still haven't decided what book we're going to go into, if yet. I love Psalm 119 so much. I may just go right through that, and that would be maybe one more week, because that'll take it's a long psalm, but it's also very straightforward. Like a lot of this, it's hard for me to be like, oh, let me explain to you what this says. He will bless them that fear the Lord. So it's more tempting often to go off and talk about the fear of the Lord in a context that maybe I'm familiar with. He shall increase you more and more, you and your children. Boy, that is true. I just get increased more and more all the time. I got all my children, and then I've got grandchildren, and I'm thankful. But again, it's promised to Israel, but also it goes to us as Christians if we take hold of the promise, if we believe in it and try to live it and do the things necessary that'll make it happen. That's what I'm saying. God wants we want to be mindful of heaven because we're going to be there someday. So how we live is important to that. It's not just I ensconce myself in a cave with a Bible and chant to God. I've got a response. There's cries going out to God of people suffering in this world. And I can't do just nothing. I may be relatively powerless, but I can do some things. And what I can, if I do what I can do, then the Lord will say, well, you did what you could. And I know it wasn't much, but you did what you could. I see that you could have done more, but you didn't see. Right? And it wasn't perfect, or whatever. Or maybe he said, or whatever. If the thing is like, if he gives us power to do good and we don't, then woe unto us. I don't know how we do anything. Because, to me, it's like all I see that could be done about the genocide is to stop giving them bombs, cut off their supply. And if our government isn't willing to do that, I'm going to be writing Congress again. I write mine because they have to read your email. Like I got a response from Dick Durbin. Good enough, but I'm gonna write him again politely and just say I'm just letting let you know what I'm thinking. Blah, 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 blah. I probably won't make him respond again. Maybe I'll make him respond every couple times. Whatever, because you can check. You want a response, and they'll send a response. I'm not saying Durbin sat down and wrote it, but his office did. So it's his official word. That's for sure. Anyways, so let's see. All right, well, one thing I want you bless the Lord, we made heaven and earth, God's the maker. We already talked about that a lot. The heavens, even the heavens are the Lord's, but the earth hath he given to the children of men. And I think sometimes the way they put the earth, the heavens, even the heavens, a lot of times that is part of the song. Why is it saying that? Is it significant? Is it being, what is it? It may not saying anything more than sometimes that's just how we talk. The heavens, the very heavens, are the Lord's. But the earth hath he given to the children of men. And in a sense, yes, it belongs to Satan. It belongs to men. He has given it to us in a sense, not forever, but he's given it over to us. That we've overrun the earth completely. I mean, here we are. We went forth and we were multiplied, and now we've come to our strongest numbers ever. There are billions of humans. And what are we doing? The dead praise not the Lord, neither any that go down to silence. That's what death is. While you're dead, you don't praise God. I believe that. Now, this is not in the Revelation. The Lord, like I said, the resurrection is hinted at, but also the nature of death is spoken of plainly. The dead know not anything, neither have they any more portion in anything that is done under the sun in this world. Their time is over. As it says in Hebrews, is given unto men once to die, and after that the judgment. And I think it's immediately after that. You are raised from the dead, and you go on to judgment. Except that actually happens in the future. It's not in, because we always have this, like, I think human beings we are in this thing where we think that our timeline is just everything. And that God isn't on some other schedule. Or, you know what I mean? Like when people die, they have to be, while I'm on earth, I have to know that they're consciously up there somewhere. Conscious. I got to know that. Why? I think it's something with human nature, I think. I used to believe that. A lot of people believe that. But I don't. I don't believe the dead are consciously way up in heaven watching us through any portals or any such thing. They remain in their graves. Their spirits have returned to God. And in a sense that, that is with him. But I don't think your living soul is the union of spirit and body. And you will only be a living soul again in the resurrection, as far as I'm concerned. God is the God of the living. The dead don't know anything, and he's not God of them. They're just dust. That's what they are. And the living spirit returns to God. It came from God. The spirit of life from God, I don't really think that is me. It's something that came out of God's mouth. It does animate. I do think we all have, I've said this before, and I'm not going to go off on a long thing about it now, but there's something about individual spirits, people being of excellent spirits and all that. Like, I do think there's something that, like, it's like clothing or something like that, where it's like my clothing, as I inhabit them, they sort of become more mine, I guess. But I mean, in that sense that the spirit that God gives us, it changes over time. You know what I mean? Like, in a sense, like there's something to our life that gets altered. And it's weird. Not the living essence, but I think that there's something more to it that is shaped by our existence and over time. I don't know if that makes sense, and it doesn't really matter. If it does, because it's just amusing with a space between the A and the M. A musing of mine. We will bless the Lord from this time forth and forevermore, as it ought to be. Okay, well, we're done with the study. We'll look forward to being back again next week. I think we'll still stick with, I may decide to go to another book. I already read Psalm 116, and actually I did want to teach it. We will probably at least, that's pretty long. I don't know. And then comes Psalm 119, which is the longest chapter in the Bible. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Remember, the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And I can't find anything. There we go.
My soul
No, cleave
to the dust. Quicken thou me according to thy word. I have declared my ways. And thou heardest me. Teach me thy statutes. Make me to understand the way of thy precepts. So shall I talk of thy